Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Horror Stories from the Internet. This time we are reviewing a r/no sleep story / no sleep creepypasta based on a Lost Scooby-Doo episode called I Need Help Identifying a Scooby-Doo Episode. Just like all other no sleep stories are sort of named, but anyways. And you are probably wondering, what could be so scary about a Scooby-Doo episode? Well, let's see on what this creepypasta / internet horror story has to offer. So sit back and relax and enjoy listening to me reading and reviewing this internet horror story. I need help identifying a episode of Scooby-Doo. I didn't watch this thing, but had put on the show for my kids to watch on Netflix. They watched 2 to 3 episodes at the time, so the episode in question had auto-played after the previous one had finished. With that said, it was an episode where Scooby and Shaggy went a trip to Munchville, Ohio, to visit the Scooby snack factory. I had been paying attention to that plot point because it seemed like they had just watched a similar episode of the week before. I think he's mentioning that one Scooby-Doo episode that I used to remember watching a lot when I was a kid. It was called something, a recipe for disaster. Yeah, it's called a recipe for disaster. So basically this pasta, from what I can see, seems to be going over some sort of alternate version of the recipe for disaster type of episode. So yeah. Anyways, let's continue. Oh, I guess I should mention that these weren't the old Scooby-Doos that I grew up with, but one of the updated shows from the early 2000s. Yeah, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the fucking Scooby-Doo. Yeah, I think. Yeah. What's New Scooby-Doo? That's the series. Either way, the end of this episode was genuinely terrifying, and I want some answers. I wasn't really paying attention to the opening, but that catchy theme seemed just the same as always. Really nothing struck me as out of the ordinary at first. But oh, the foreshadowing. Let's see what's gonna happen next. Because we had recently seen the same plot, I did notice when things diverged wildly. In this one, the gang wins a trip to the factory because Shaggy opens a box and pours out a single box-sized and shaped Scooby snack. This wasn't part of some contest though. They just tweet about it and it goes viral. So then the gang is contacted by the owner and given a chance to tour the factory. Okay, now that's just a what the fuck moment right there for something that's weird going on, because Twitter doesn't even exist in the Scooby-Doo universe. This confused me because they were acting like they had never been there, and I thought the series came out before tweeting was a thing. Yeah. What's New Scooby-Doo was a series that came out before tweeting on Twitter was a thing, if I remember correctly. But yeah. Also, there was a long pause as everyone just sat there and watched Shaggy holding the Scooby snack box upside down. The snack inside took forever to slide out, and no one moves a muscle during this time. They don't even blink, which made it a little unnerving to me. I thought this kind of delayed response humor was a newer trend too. Yes, like every average, I guess, Gen X type of person or boomer who's like not, who's like new to this like new humor, even though like delayed response humor isn't really not a thing. So that's another red flag. Either way, the gang make it to the factory where they are introduced to several workers, foremen, and food scientists. This was honestly just boring. No one's name was a pun or seemed to have any wacky character traits. They just seemed like regular normal people. So I checked out and started browsing Reddit until I saw the first body. Okay, whoa, what the fuck? The art style was still very much cartoony, but I snapped out of my front page trance when I saw blood in a ribcage out of the corner of my eye. According to my kids, this was actually the second body. Okay. But somehow I had completely missed an earlier murder of a random worker, among other plot points. I was disgusted, of course, and shooed my kids out to go play in their room. Camera was lingering on the remains when I returned to turn off the TV. That's when I noticed the orange ascot. Oh no. Oh god, is that Fred's corpse? This actually made me feel a little better despite the gore being displayed in what was supposed to be a kid's show. Why are you feeling a little better about? Hang on. They couldn't kill off Fred, the leader of Mystery Incorporated. After all, plus, as soon as I realized that it was supposed to be his body, the scene changed to Velma on all fours, looking for her glasses. I immediately doubted that I had seen and slowly sat down on the couch to see where this was all going. I thought Fred could come back into it and reveal he had faked his death to throw off the villain of the week. First, I watched Velma find her glasses and then reconnect with Daphne. Then the scene switched to Shaggy and Scooby eating in the kitchen. This was good. It was what I expected from my Scooby-Doo. Then Shaggy offered Scooby a comically large sandwich, but the dog turned it down and mimed being full. With genuine worry, Shaggy offered a special purple Scooby snack instead. From the dialogue and context clues, I find out that this was an experimental treat that the two had swiped from the food scientists earlier in the episode. Then we went back to Velma and Daphne, getting lost in a maze of doors. This looked similar to that old gag of the gang being chased in one door and out another over and over again, but they just walked by in no hurry since nothing was chasing them. I realized that we hadn't seen any sign of a monster yet, another oddity of this show, or rather an oddity of this episode. So this is definitely showing off some major red flags that there is something very off about this episode. Anyways, however, they entered a door, found Scooby with a oversized stomach and purple stars in in his eyes. Just Shaggy's arm was the only part of his visible from under a small mountain of Scooby snacks. That tried dragging him out, of course. They only pulled out a disembodied arm? Holy shit. Whoa, okay, this is a disembodied arm. Even expecting it, I was surprised by the blood that poured out and sight of shattered bone that protruded from the limb. Daphne screamed, which snapped Scooby's eyes back to normal. He leaped onto all fours, but there was nothing to do but be questioned by Velma. Well, Velma still waving around Shaggy's arm. And I laughed in spite of myself. This had no place in this kid's show, but it was funny in a morbid way. Scooby didn't seem concerned, but the horrible mauling that had happened to his friends, so a part of me just still suspected that they had been in on another faked death. Velma accused Scooby of eating Fred and Shaggy while under the effects of the strange Scooby snacks. This also made me feel a little better about the show. There was almost always some super obvious suspect that turned out to be a red herring. There was no way Scooby-Doo could turn out to be the murderer if any murders had actually occurred. And then Scooby ate Daphne! Okay! What a fucking speed up into such events! And then after being accused by Velma, Scooby ate some more of the purple snacks in front of her to prove that he wasn't a monster. But with more purple stars in his eyes, he turned around and snapped at Daphne. She jerked her hand back, but was missing her index finger. Scooby smiled, revealing her finger between his teeth. His sharp teeth. Okay, this is pretty fucking surreally morbid. He gulped it down and tackled Daphne to the ground. While he ripped and tore her face away. Oh God! Oh Jesus! It just tore her face off. Velma ran and got 2 security guards. All together, they managed to wrestle a foaming Scooby away. He still had Daphne's intestines clamped tight in his jaws. Oh God. Daphne, somehow still alive, made a horrible mourning sound as Scooby has led away, pulling more and more of her intestines from a gaping wound on her stomach. Oh God. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put a gore warning on this episode. I just sat there, frozen at the horribleness of it all. There was no way Daphne had been faking it. But just as I started to turn off the TV, Velma said, "All right, let's see who has really been behind this all along." I sat at the edge of my seat with one hand on my TV remote and another covering my mouth. I had to see where they had been going with this. Velma slowly put her hand on Scooby's head while he growled at her and strained at the security guards still holding him. They, then she dropped her hand. She dropped her hand just as slowly to his blue collar. She started to tug harder and harder until she got a good grip of a layer of fur and pulled it upwards to reveal that it was what was hidden underneath. I gasped and saw my own features. Under Scooby's mask was my head. Just fucking what? His fucking head was underneath Scooby's quote-unquote mask. It looked as confused as I felt, and I realized it turned as I turned. I closed one eye and watched myself, quote-unquote, close the same eye on the screen. Before my shock had really even set in, Velma interrupted with, "Oh, but let's see what's under that." Oh no. As she pulled at the neck on the TV, I felt like someone was scratching my own neck. Reflexively, I turned off the TV and the feeling immediately subsided. What the fuck is this some sort of fucking anomaly? I didn't turn on again until my partner was by my side. Explained everything, but was met with skepticism. We couldn't find the episode in our continue watching list or anywhere in the episode list. My kids were too young to be reliable eyewitnesses because I could tell I thought I heard a Yeti outside, and they'd immediately tell me, "Oh, him? We've been playing with that Yeti for hours." And so I'm trying to find anything out there that will prove I'm not going crazy. I do have one thing going in my favor there. Not even my partner could explain how I got these shallow cuts on my neck. It's almost like claw marks. Right where I saw Velma grab at the neck on screen. Can you? Alright, so that was, I need help identifying an episode of Scooby-Doo. And this one had an interesting idea to it, and how this, like, lost episode story would go, and how it's like, how the lost episode itself was not even a real episode, but rather a sort of anomaly that appeared on the TV or some shit. And I kind of thought, like, that the main character's reactions to the episode was kind of like realistic, but I don't like how, like, his partner met with what he said with, like, skepticism. I kind of felt like that it was kind of, like, unrealistic. In my opinion, if, like, I was, like, seeing, like, some fucking freaky ass anomaly of an episode happening, and, like, I felt like something on my neck, I would be, like, fucking, like, terrified and shit, and my partner would probably be, like, very worried about my mental health or whatever, on just what on earth I just saw, rather than just being met with skepticism. Because, like, if I, like, saw something like that, I would be fucking terrified, and it would have been visibly noticeable that I was fucking terrified or something like that. But anyways, what I think about this story, it's kind of bad in some parts with how, like, the story itself was executed in some ways, but has some, like, pretty good ideas for how, like, the story goes, and what was the lost episode gonna be in the story as well. pretty short and not too long, but it was pretty like average in my opinion for this story. And this is basically the first no sleep story I've ever read on the no sleep subreddit. All I gotta say is that that no sleep stories are a very weird like genre of horror stories in my opinion, of how they like name their stories and stuff, and how they're always like focused on like staying with like not breaking the immersion and stuff. So yeah. And so basically I give this story pretty much just like sort of like a 4 out of 10 in a sort of way. I don't like it and I don't like hate it. I just like am neutral to this. But yeah, that's all for this episode. I'll see you in the next video, which would probably be the next episode, which I'm going to be making. In the next episode, I'm going to be reviewing a special video game creepypasta called Thank You for Playing Rayman.